Good evening, everybody. This is a Huge Pop Wrestling. Good evening, everybody. This is Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I'm Scott, your host, Huge Pop. It's been a minute. I've been away, but our guest tonight, he's made some appearances at CWF Rockwall. His name is Jamie Stanley. He's from Lansing, Michigan, college football player. He has done some things with NWA since at least 2021. He made an appearance in WWE tryout early 2020. Welcome to the show. He's that dude, the American's jawline. Please welcome to the show, Jamie Stanley. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, gentlemen, thank you guys so much for having me. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, and I'm excited to be here.
I will say thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Nikki, for being here. We will try to get through this. I've been gone for 3 weeks. And interesting, it's just how God works, I believe. I never, until studying today, our guest, Mr. That Dude, Jamie Stanley, him and I have something really in common it's pretty crazy. 3 weeks ago, I got the phone call that my mom passed away on October 22nd. I lost my mom to cancer. Thank you for the prayers, etc. But on that same day, Jamie Stanley got a phone call from his mom where letting him know his grandma passed. So if that's not a God thing that brought two guys together for a wrestling interview, we could talk all day about grandmas and moms and just throw this wrestling interview away, because I can tell by this man and myself, we have loving families, and I'm sure he's thanking everybody for the support he's getting through this time too. So bear with us. We're going to get through this interview. Thank you, Jamie, for taking the time out to talk wrestling, to talk CWF, to talk NWA, to talk everything wrestling, and even football. So we're just going to break the ice with this football question. Nikki D and I are from Michigan, and we support the blue and gold. But we have our guest here that supports the little brother. So we got a little brother in the room. That's okay.
Let me just sit for my tea here.
You can sit for your tea. So I'm just saying, thank you for showing up. You know, no hard feelings, I'm sure. Even though we kicked your ass in the game this year, but hey, we're good. We're good, right? You're not gonna leave the show?
Well, I would have hard feelings for that, but everybody else has whooped us this year too. So y'all aren't special, man. You're just the latest on the list of everybody that's beaten us. So don't take that too seriously.
All right, I won't. Thank you. So man, let's start at the beginning. Were you always a fan of wrestling?
Yeah, man. I started when I was about 10 years old. It was during the Monday Night Wars. I remember my older brother and I would watch Monday Nitro, and I turned the TV on one week and saw that Hulk Hogan, the American hero, was dressed in all black and had black shades on, and he had dyed his or he had a black beard and you know, the blonde hair, and was going around beating everybody up with a baseball bat. And I was like, holy smokes, I thought this was the ultimate like American hero, the good guy. And just to see the fact that he was a bad guy kind of drew me in and made me want to see more. And idolized my brother growing up, and he really got into it at that point too. And I did. And I just remember like just sitting on the couch on Monday nights and watching that. It was appointment TV. And ever since then, I've been hooked.
Awesome. So you were around the WCW era then?
I was a WCW kid. We'd watch Nitro, we'd watch Thunder. We used to record every single one on VHS. I'm dating myself when I say that. And we never watched them back, but my parents' basement is still back in the corner. There's still a whole stack of unwatched WCW VHSs, which I'm sure are not worth any money, but for some reason she keeps them around. So yeah, I was huge WCW fan.
NWO fan?
Oh yeah, for life.
Okay, for life, yes. So I can ask this question. I usually ask it in the middle of the conversation, but there's a TikTok joke that goes around about WCW. Who, in your opinion, is the all-time greatest WCW champion ever?
Oh man. Besides David Arquette?
There you go. David Arquette.
I knew that was going to be the answer. I mean, who can beat him, right?
Right. Who could? Probably you, I bet.
Well,
Make it
it'd be tough.
It'd be tough.
Oh my word. Yeah, no, David Arquette definitely not the top. Is that echo thing still going on?
Not when you
Not
talk.
when you talk.
But when everybody,
Everybody else talks.
Oh wow, okay. I got a couple questions. The first one is, and I know you were a fan. You talked about being a fan from the start. Your ring names are amazing. So you got America's Jawline. Like, where did you come up with these?
Well, I appreciate it. America's Jawline, man. So during training one time, it was during promo practice, and one of my fellow students that I was training with, it was kind of playing off of when Captain America in Avengers said he had America's butt or whatever, and I just happened to be cutting a promo, and like just halfway in through my promo, the guy said, "That's America's Jawline," and I kind of thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to steal that from you and act like I made it up myself. So been using that ever since. So that's every time I say it, my wife just shakes her head. She just like, what's wrong with this guy? So that's just one of them. Just trying to think out of the box and be ridiculous with it.
Where'd that dude come from?
I actually heard, I forget, it was on a documentary. It may have been on like a Kobe or maybe like Deion Sanders or something like that, or a Tim Grover. But whoever they were, just it might have been The Last Dance, if you guys have ever seen that with the Chicago Bulls, that documentary. He referred to Michael Jordan as that dude, like the one that everybody looks up to, like he's the man, like he's the one that is the best, he's the GOAT. And I was like, you know what, I like that. I've never really heard that before. And like if he walks in the room, you're like, oh man, there goes that dude. And I was like, you know what, I'm taking that too. So I've done that, and it kind of stuck with me, and I'm happy I did, because it's definitely memorable for sure.
Awesome, man. So at what point in your life did you say, yes, I want to be a pro wrestler?
Oh man, so like I said, I've always been a fan growing up. Watched it, kind of fell out of love with it as I got into high school and started playing other sports. Like you said before, I played football in high school and played in college as well. Still was somewhat familiar with it, didn't watch it religiously like I did when I was a kid. But when I graduated college and I was done playing football, there's just kind of a void, or like a hole, an athletic hole in my life, where I was like, I don't have any, kind of competition anymore like that. I was working just a sales job, and I was like, man, it's cool, but like I miss being able to go out and do something that kind of takes me out of my comfort zone and takes me out of the box. So one night I just happened to be flipping through channels, and Monday Night Raw was on, and John Cena was on, and I was like, man, I used to love that so much when I was a kid. I always wanted to be, that was my dream, to be a pro wrestler. I was like, man, I wonder how hard it would be to even just train. Like, they make it look so easy. Like, are there even schools around? Like, how does that even work? So I got on the Google machine and looked it up, and found out that there was a school that was like 3 miles away from where I was living at the time. And it was ran by a former WWF wrestler from the 90s. So I was like, well, there's my sign, at least, to go and check it out. So I went and watched a class, watched a training session, just thinking I was just going to be a bystander, just watching it. And they conned me into getting in the ring somehow. And the second I did and started running the ropes and doing all the drills and learning the moves, I was hooked. So I already kind of knew deep down that was inevitable. But yeah, it was cool. It was just kind of a random thing, me watching TV one time, and I guess the flame was sparked then, and I haven't really looked back since.
Nicky D.
Who you said it was a 90s wrestler, and that's whose school it was that was close by you. Who was that?
Yeah, so do you remember Wolfie D?
I've heard of it.
He was in Yeah, he was in PG-13. They were in ECW, and also they were in the Nation of Domination very early. They were the white rapper guys, basically.
Nice, nice, nice. What school did you attend? What was the name of it?
So the first one that I did, it was Wolfie D's House of Champions, and that was in Nashville. And then I also went to Clarksville with Tried and True Wrestling, or TNT, which is ran by Crimson and Bram, or Tom Latimer in the NWA now. And then I moved down here. I went to Devon's for a little bit, Devon Dudley School in Orlando. So kind of just been a gypsy, going from school to school, getting different, I guess, flavors of ice cream, for lack of a better term. But yeah, that's where I got my start, was just downtown Nashville.
Now, you talk about Devon School in Orlando. There's more schools I heard
Mhm.
about in Orlando. Do they let people, like fans, come in and check that out, see what it's like? Or is that just closed specifically to you guys as wrestlers?
Yeah, it's close to just wrestlers for the most part. They do have like student shows where they just have like friends and family of the students come in, and they can watch them like wrestle in front of a crowd to kind of get their first, I guess, dip their toe in the water for like live shows. But that's pretty much the extent of it. Yeah.
So now everybody hears about school and training, and we hear a lot about the bumps and the body slams, etc. There's got to be more to that, like promos and psychology. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, just the in ring isn't even the majority in my opinion. You have to have a character. You have to have good good mic skills. You have to be able to, talk people into the building. And I think that's even more important, because you can be the best wrestler in the world and throw the best drop kick, but if you can't present yourself and sell yourself and put yourself over in a manner that the fans can connect with, then it doesn't really matter. So I know for me personally, a lot of my success hasn't come from me throwing the best drop kick or doing the craziest moves. Mine is very bread and butter and simple, but my character is kind of what gets me into doors, and it gives me a connection with the fans. So I believe that's very important, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen some solid promos of you. So,
Oh,
especially
thank
I'm
you.
gonna play. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play one later on that will lead me into CWF stuff. So, Nikki
Awesome.
D.
That's what I was going to ask you. You seem very natural, very fluid when I was checking out your promos, and I didn't know if that was something that just came natural to you. Because some people it does. It's like an alter ego, and it's themselves with the volume turned all the way up. Or was that something you had to work on for a while? Because you're very good at it. You just like you don't trip over your words or anything, and you just kind of flow. So that's what I'm wondering. If that took a lot of training, if you had to be coached, or if that was just natural to you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. First of all, yes, I did have to work on it. When I first started off, I was terrible at promos, and was scared to death to even try them. But like you said, it's kind of I kind of channel just my inner ridiculousness, and I guess it's kind of just how I act, like at home, just trying to annoy my wife, or make the kids laugh, things like that. Like I just try to be as ridiculous and outrageous as possible, and just be have fun. When I first started off, I always thought that they wanted a certain thing. I was kind of playing a wrestler, I guess you could say. But this is just I'm more of an introvert, I guess, in like day-to-day life, and I'm kind of quiet and can be reserved and kind of to myself. So this is my chance to like step outside that box, and like when the red light goes on, I kind of just throw everything else to the side and let loose. So to answer your question, yes, I did have to work on it, but also it was kind of just like finding my inner voice more and more. And I found out that I did have a talent for it once I kind of once I kind of found out who that character was, and I could hone into that a little bit more.
Awesome. So, other than now that we're into the business and you're performing in with different promotions, etc., what's training like now? Now that you're out of the school, is that on a daily basis? You always at the gym? You need nutrition, great nutrition. It seems like you are by looking at some of the videos, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Nutrition and working out is key. I think that's it's another huge aspect of getting, your foot in the door or getting to places where others can't, is the way that you look. You want to look credible. You want to look like a superhero. You want to look like you could beat somebody up, basically. Um, so I take nutrition and working out very seriously. I have a trainer. I count all my macros, all my calories. I take account for everything that I put into my body, and I am on a very strict training regimen as well. I still do train in the ring, man, probably at least 3 or 4 times a week. I don't know if you guys knew, but we actually just opened up a school in Orlando. My wife and I, we opened up one, so we've got our own ring, so I don't have any excuse to not train anymore. So I'm in there at least 4 to 5 times a week doing something, whether it's with the kids, with our members, or we've got people coming in that train specifically with me. So yes, that is definitely a very, very important part.
Rob Vaughn, he brought that up to me this afternoon. He said, "Ask him about his school in Orlando." So I'm glad you brought that up. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called House of Champions. That's what
yep.
this is right here. So it's in Longwood, Florida, which is just north of Orlando. We opened up in May, so we've been open up just a few months now. But we've got a great group of members that have bought into the culture and the atmosphere, and then the team aspect that we wanted, portray there. And like I said, it's my wife and I that opened it up. We took a huge leap of faith. We felt like God was telling us to do this, and we kind of sat on it for a year, and then finally we were like, you know what? If we're going to do it, we just need to do it. So we've been extremely blessed. We found a state-of-the-art facility that wasn't even on the market. We kind of found it through a friend that we were able to get into before they even listed it. So we're very blessed with that, and we're busy. We're covered up. I mean, I'm there every single day, but that's what we prayed for, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's a lot of fun, and where you learn something new every day, and there's never a dull moment for sure.
That'd be awesome to see. I need one of those House of Champions shirts. I have to. So you have merch,
Yes,
don't you?
absolutely.
All right, there you go. Nikki
What's that?
D.
Yes, we do, definitely.
Okay, Nikki D.
Your school, which congratulations on that. That is awesome,
Thank you.
and that's a huge blessing. I'm wondering, is that targeted towards youth? So are you bringing the youth in and giving them somewhere to go, and you're kind of training them, or is this where anybody can go to, young or old, if they want to get into the business or learn, or just for a place to come work out?
Yeah, so it's actually both. We offer beginners classes as well as advanced classes. Probably 75% of our members right now, like the first time they got into a ring was with us in May or June. And man, they've come so far just in these past few months, and we're getting ready to do a student showcase of our own in the first part of the year, probably January coming up here. But like I said, we also do have members that have been wrestling for a few years, up to 5, 6, 7, even 10 years. And we do that as well. So we're definitely open up to anybody that wants to come. Not just beginners, because it's funny in wrestling. A lot of people think that, like, oh, I trained for a little bit and then now I'm starting to wrestle in shows, so I don't need to train anymore. And I obviously just think that's ridiculous, because in any other sport, it's not like, Tom Brady practiced for a year and then started playing games and never practiced again. So, and wrestling is no different. I think you should practice your entire career. You should always be training. So we do offer the formal classes for beginners and advanced, but we also have open ring time where you can reserve time in the ring. We're one of the only schools in the nation that I know of that is actually, we have staffed hours. So we're there from 9 a.m. until sometimes 10 p.m. on training days. So if anybody wants to come and reserve ring time, whether they're a beginner or they're a veteran, they can do that, and they can come in and use our ring. They can work out in our gym. They can use our recovery, whether it's the infrared sauna or the cold plunge that we have. So we wanted to make it kind of a one-stop shop for all wrestlers.
Nikki D, you have any rebuttal?
That is amazing. Like, that is unheard of. And when I was trying to cut my teeth in the business a long time ago, when I was young, they didn't, like, the wrestling schools I attended, there weren't staffed hours. You were there You could only
Right.
be there when the owner was there. And I remember my first wrestling school, because I went to Mike Shaw's wrestling academy, and then I attended Dan Severin's. But in Mike Shaw's, I probably shouldn't say this, but me and a couple of the guys, we found out how to jimmy the door open. So we would
Nice.
get in and we would get extra ring time, because you could only work out when he was there. And that was it. And then it doubled as a kickboxing school too. So we were using a kickboxing ring, so the ropes were horrible, and the ring was stiff, but we wanted to get that time in. So it's awesome that you do that. You have all of that there. You have staffed hours where people can come in and get extra time, because you'll never know too much.
No, definitely not. And for members, for our members, it's absolutely free. We just have a system where they can book it online, and then it's a certain rate for outside people who are not members as well. So you don't have to be a member to reserve the ring as well. But yeah, I mean, we were the same way. Unless somebody had a key, or the person was there, like you had to go there during training hours, and you couldn't get any extra work. So I mean, instead of having 3, 4, 5 hours a week, now they can have up to 10 or even more a week, because they're coming in on a quote unquote downtime. So, I mean, the only thing is to get better. Like if you're going to have more, if you double your time, you don't have an option but to get better. So we wanted to be able to do that, just because it's like, why not offer it? If people are hungry and they want to come work out and they want to get better, and especially in the off time, like we want to help them with that. So that's a huge reason that we decided to go that route.
So prior to 2020 and COVID, you were supposed to have a tryout in the WWE. Did that ever happen, or did COVID just blow that away?
So, man, it was March, I believe, 12th, 2020, that my tryout happened. And if you guys remember, that's basically the same day that the entire world shut down. So I had my tryout. We got there the morning of that day, and as soon as we got there, they were like, basically, you know what, guys, thanks for coming. We appreciate everybody coming to this tryout. You guys have worked hard. You've made it here, and we appreciate that. But as I'm sure you've seen on the news, the entire world is shutting down, and we don't know what's going to happen. So unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel the tryout, and we're going to turn you guys around and fly you out this afternoon. So after all the training and the preparation and the getting ready for this tryout, I got there that morning, and just only to figure out that I had to turn right back around that afternoon. So it was a very, very weird feeling. Number one, because it was a bummer not being able to do this tryout that I've worked so hard for, but also it's just a strange time because we didn't know what was going to happen with the pandemic and with everything shutting down. And even they said they said, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but we will be in touch with you guys. Like, they didn't know any more than we did, basically. So it was a very strange feeling. And I just remember coming home and kind of doing, what now? So yeah, it was very strange, and had to wait a while until I finally got that rescheduled.
Now you did everything. Eventually, you had a match in the underground, right, with Braun Strowman?
If you can call it that, yeah.
All right. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So it was a segment during the pandemic, obviously in the Thunderdome, which basically he just beat the mess out of me, and they were cheering it the whole time. And it was very simple. He's a great guy. I've come to he lives in Orlando as well. And I've come to know him, and I'm friends with him, and he's a great guy. But yeah, just big, strong, imposing, intimidating guy when he wants to be, for sure. So that was another thing that was crazy. I was a part of the Thunderdome era, and here living in Orlando, I was just down the street. So whenever they wanted me, I would be an extra for 2-3 times a week for probably a couple months there, whether it was at the PC for NXT or at the Amway Center for the Raw or SmackDown. But very strange, but it was cool because I got to meet a lot of people because everybody was there all the time, and I kind of became a regular, so got to make a lot of connections through that. And yeah, Braun was one of them, and I've been in touch with him ever since.
That's awesome. Nikki D.
Oh yeah. So you got to go. You said you were kind of involved, in a sense, with NXT, and you got to go do stuff with them. Did
Yes.
you ever have any dialogue with, because I think that's the time when Triple H was still involved with NXT, unless I'm wrong, during the COVID period, because he had it for a while. It was like his baby. So did you ever get to have any dialogue with him, or were you always dealing with somebody else?
It was mostly with other people, but I did speak with him kind of in passing. I've shook his hand a few times, but no, like really one-on-one conversations. But yeah, he was always there. He was very hands-on. He was a great guy. Every time that us extras would come in, he'd greet us and shake our hands, and everybody there was very hospitable and just very welcoming. Whether it was the front office or the wrestlers or the medical, anybody involved, they were very welcoming, and you felt at home, especially during that period, because it kind of was our home, because we were there 2-3 times a week. So yeah, everybody was super cool, and I really don't have anything bad to say about them or even that era, because it was definitely valuable experience that any other condition, and I guess you would never experience that. But I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, or the wrong time, I guess, however you want to look at it. But yeah, it was really cool meeting all those people and then creating those relationships, no doubt.
So the pandemic, obviously there was nobody except for the performers around the ring and in the Thunderdome. And then now you're dealing with thousands of people watching you on whenever you're performing, etc. What kind of psychology does that play in your head? Was it an easy transition to leave the pandemic to go into now performing in front of like everybody?
Yes, it was very easy, because performing again in front of either nobody or just the other wrestlers, it was not awesome. It was a very I guess low energy. The wrestlers would bring energy, but you could it just wasn't the same as the fans, because they were they know when to cheer. They're being told what to do, basically. And these tapings would last hours and hours, and when you're sitting there banging on the plexiglass for hours and hours, you eventually get tired. So we were definitely very ready to go in front of real fans again. And you guys saw it, the first couple shows, even for the first couple months or even the year, every new town that they went to for the first time since they opened back up, it was just like the first time they'd ever seen wrestling. Just the excitement, the electricity in the air. I'd never really, I'm always super grateful for the fans, but even more so after not having any fans, those first couple times out there, you're like, oh, okay, this is what I was missing. This is what it feels like. It feels back to normal now, for sure.
Nikki D.
So you've been, and excuse me if this is rude, but you're how old?
I am 30.
I am 35.
I had to think about it.
How old were you when you got into the business?
So it was actually 10 years ago, 2013. So it was before my birthday. So I was 24 when I first broke in.
Okay, so you've been working with so do you ever feel that AEW, NWA, and MLW, and even Impact and New Japan would ever come together and work side by side? Would that would have to create a big opening for talent? That because I watched all the shows, and there's a lot of talent that I feel at times as fans don't either get used properly or don't get used at all. And so with all these promotions out there, you ever see them ever finally coming together and work and sharing different talents, or do they already do that?
Yeah, they kind of already do. There's the whole forbidden door, between like New Japan and AEW. I know that they work together a lot. I know that NWA and Impact and AEW have all worked together in some aspect or another. And I think that's great. Right now I think it's the golden era for not only wrestlers, because there's so many awesome companies with so many opportunities and spots open, but but also for the fans, because there's so many different products to watch, whether it's WWE or AEW or Impact or NWA, New Japan, MLW, whatever it is, Ring of Honor. there's just so much to choose from and so many different flavors of ice cream. So I think that the more that everybody can kind of work together, it's good, but also competition, it rises all ships. The high tides rise all ships. So I think that even that is good. Instead of just having one company in town that everybody's trying to get to and everybody else is just kind of waiting. I think it's great to have all these different opportunities and all these different companies for the competition and for the fans and for the wrestlers. So I think right now is unprecedented. It's great for everybody involved. And I'm just happy to be a part of it because there's so many different avenues to go down.
So is that dude fixated on NWA only, or do you have your eyes on another promotion?
That dude could show up anywhere. So definitely not only married to NWA. Keep your eyes out. He could show up on WWE. He could show up on AEW. He could show up on Wheel of Fortune one day. Who knows? He could be on anything. So definitely keep your eyes peeled.
Even Family Feud, right?
Even Family Feud.
Thank you, D.
So what is your favorite, not to put you on the spot, but what is your favorite organization so far that you've been involved with, that you've worked for?
Definitely WWE. That's the goal. It always has been. It always will be. They're the top dog, and just the way that they have treated me, they've always been great to me. I don't have anything bad to say about them. They've been extremely professional. Not to say that other promotions haven't, but growing up, that's everybody wants to make it to the WWE, and I think it's great that AEW has become another option, and all these other guys as well. But as far as me personally, I would have to say WWE has definitely been top dog for me.
So as a wrestler, you go from you had WWE experience, you've had AEW, you've had NWA, even go to CWF Rockwall. So there's got to be a lot of traveling going on here. Is there any
yes,
any cool traveling stories that you could tell us without getting yourself in trouble?
Oh man, so I don't know if this is cool. It still breaks my heart because it's kind of too soon. But I actually it was in August, I believe, August or July. I wrestled in a show in Jamaica actually, and it's for a company that does a lot of Caribbean shows, whether it's the Bahamas or we did one in Trinidad and Tobago, and we just recently had one in Jamaica. And it's been great. Like I said before, I'm really into fitness and nutrition, so I always take my meals with me, and I always pack them ahead of time, and then they make it through customs and everything like that. So I mean, I was there for it saves a lot of money too, and I was there for a whole week. So I spent the entire week prior basically meal prepping and planning and putting stuff in the vacuum seal bags and all that stuff, and just I've done it a million times. So I was like, yeah, this is fine. So it comes to the day when we finally get to Jamaica and we land, and we were going through customs, and I had my bag full of food that I had spent a million hours prepping the last couple of days before. And the gentleman, the customs officer, says, "Oh man, we can't do this." What do you mean we can't do this? Oh, you can't bring your own food, man. We don't let it happen. It'll mess up our agriculture. It'll mess up our environment, something like that. So I kind of was like, okay, so what does that mean? He's like, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to throw it all away. So there was probably 20 meals in there that I just watched just go down the trash, and I just kind of had to sit there and watch. And it was one of those things where like I just had to laugh because I wanted to cry. Not because it was that expensive or anything like that, but I seriously spent hours and hours and hours prepping for this, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And so I just saw it literally all get thrown away in the trash. And so I went from that, and I was like, well, I guess this vacation can only get better from here because I'm starting off pretty rocky. So that whole rest of the week I was living off of rice and canned tuna basically from Jamaica. So it's definitely a story where I made it work, and it's funny to, I guess, sit back and laugh about it now, but at the point I had to laugh because I wanted to cry.
Well, that's a good story for us fans to hear because we think that you guys, I mean, at least me, you watch these guys on TV, they live the glorious life. But to hear something
Mhm.
like that is humbling to me and for me because it puts you guys on a real level like us. 'Cause I think I've met a lot. Well, Nikki D and I've met a lot of wrestlers through this whole podcast, and I understand how humble you guys are and the stuff that it's not easy doing what you guys do. And to hear a story like that, the fans out there that watch, they ought to be going, okay, these guys aren't these multi-million-dollar people that just live life of luxury. I think that's a misconception that fans have of wrestlers. I don't know if you guys hear that as wrestlers, but I think us fans have a misconception of your guys' lifestyle. To be honest,
Yeah, I mean, 99.9% of the time we're either on the road or at the gym or in a hotel room. Obviously what you guys see is what we do it all for, the fans and having the shows in front of the crowds and making that connection and stuff like that. But a funny saying is like, whenever a promoter pays you, they're not paying you for the show, they're paying you for all the travel and all the things that you had to do to get there, basically, because a lot of the times you just have to find out how to do it on your own. It's not like there's a team bus or a huge you pep rally or press conference or anything like that. Like a lot of the times you're either flying yourself in or you're driving yourself in, or you have to front the money for a hotel room, or there's 10 of us to a van, or we're all 10 of us to a hotel room. It's not as cushy and I guess luxurious as some people might think it would be, but I think that kind of gives it a little bit of a charm too, because it's like we're all in this together, and it truly is, I guess, a brotherhood and a sisterhood, because if you can kind of go through all this stuff together and I guess survive and live to tell about it and live to joke about it, it definitely creates that bond. So um, a lot of wrestlers think that they're probably higher up than they really are, but then like stories like what I just told, it's a good way to humble us for sure. Sometimes we need that.
well, I'm telling you right now, after hearing that story and talking to all these guys I had a chance to talk to, I have mad respect for that. You guys are, what you guys do. So
Yeah, well, thank you, man.
Nikki,
It's
no, no problem. Nikki D.
What is the best piece of advice you were given um, before getting into, or as you were getting into this business?
Oh man. Um, I think a huge one was work on your body and try to have the best possible look and get bigger, basically. Um, I think I think wrestling has made somewhat of a negative trend in the terms of like anybody can do it now, which I think it's great, but it's a gift and a curse, because I remember my first trainer, he said, people, if you're going to get into this, you need to get big and you need to look like a wrestler, because nobody wants to come to watch a heavyweight champion that their 15-year-old neighbor could beat up, basically. So I think if you want to get in it, you have to look the part, because for me, man, it doesn't matter how good you could talk or how good you can wrestle. And there are some exceptions that prove the rule. I will give that 100%. There's people that don't have the aesthetics that I do that could wrestle circles around me or talk circles around me. But I think if you're going to be the complete, well-rounded, like total package, for lack of a better term, you need to treat your body, take your body seriously, because it's your resume. It's how you market yourself. It's how you sell yourself. Is that 8x10? So get all the knowledge you can. Obviously, get all the in-ring technique and skill and ability as you can as well. But you also need to, like, people are tuning in to see superheroes fight each other, and if you don't have that aspect, it's a disconnect for me. That's who I always gravitated to. So especially when my first trainer said that, I definitely gravitated towards that. So look the part, and that's half the battle.
Awesome. So we're a little bit at NWA. Can you talk to us about how it is working with Billy Corrigan, Mr. Latimer, and what your experiences with NWA are?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tom is a great friend of mine. I trained with him in Clarksville, as I said before, and he was a big proponent in getting me a look in the NWA. He put in a good word for me and gave me the email of some guys at NWA that I got in contact with, and I owe that all to him. I wouldn't be there without him 100%. So he's a great friend of mine, a close friend, a lifelong friend. So I got nothing but love for Tom. As far as Billy, he's been great. Very down to earth, very humble, very easy to talk to, approachable. He's open to listening to any type of feedback or any type of ideas or questions that you have. He's always out there hanging out with us and, cutting it up with us. It's not like he's, shut away in an office where you can't reach him or you have to sit and wait for hours for him to let you in or for him to come out. He's always out there, mingling with us and whatnot. So I've got great respect for him and the fact that he's running a successful wrestling company while also being the front man and being a rock star at the same time. Like, talk about a double life, man. Like, I don't know where that man finds time to sleep, but whatever drug he's on that, makes him limitless and keeps him going and gives him the adrenaline, man. I want two of them because he is definitely inspirational, and the fact that he is able to get all that done and with excellence for sure.
What about the real dudes? The tag team.
Yeah. So Yep. When I first came in, it was me and Sam Adonis, and we were the Rude Dudes, and we tagged together for a little bit. And he was very gracious as well. He's been in it for a while. He's done a lot of great things in Mexico. He was with WWE for a while as well. So, man, to just sit and pick his brain for a little bit while we were a tag team was great. He taught me not only about tag team psychology, but also just wrestling in general and good life lessons, whether it's being on the road or dealing with politics or how to present yourself in certain situations. I got nothing for love for Sam as well. I haven't seen him or talked to him in a while. I know he's super busy as well. But yeah, that was a lot of fun because I hadn't really done tag team wrestling before that, and I think that's a very good skill to pick up because it's so different from singles wrestling. So just be able to sit and pick his brain and learn from him was invaluable.
Awesome. So before I let Nikki D ask another question, I got two names I'm going to drop that I know that I have experience with the NWA. Just curious if you know these guys. Koa, Vince.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. He's been on the last couple loops with us. Great guy. Yeah, I've worked some matches with him, and yeah, he's a great dude. He's got a great look as well. He's a very, very good dude.
Then Cody James. He came up with them too.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know him as well, but the interactions that I've had, he's been a great guy. That's the thing about NWA. It's like it's a great locker room. There's really no cliques. Like everybody just hangs out with everybody. There's not a lot of like egos or there's a lot of big personalities, but we still work together to try to help each other make the best product. So that's a great thing about NWA is like everybody's just everybody's friend, and you can go and you have people that are hanging out that you never thought would hang out, or they might not even hang out outside of NWA. But when we're all in the locker room together, we're all even and we're all equal. So it's a great thing to have for sure. And it's not very natural, or it's not very common in wrestling, I guess you could say.
No, I have to thank you for saying that, and I just let you know you're part of the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast family now. They're just Absolutely. Like they are. Thank you for coming on, and they're so cool. When I posted about my mom passing, one of the first people was Koa to say, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry." So you are you are now that you're on my show, on our show, you are part of the family. So welcome to the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast family. And Nikki D, got any more?
Yep. So you've done a lot in singles competitions, and you've been part of tag team matches. So I'm wondering if you have, this is a two-part question. So if you have an all-time favorite match so far, because you're not done, obviously. So if you have an all-time favorite match so far, and everybody has one, a least favorite match, not to put you on the spot, but.
Yeah, man, I remember one of my favorite matches that I've had recently, at least within the past couple of years, was on NWA against Bully Ray. And it was because I've always, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, obviously. He's a legend. And in person, he's a very, very kind person, but he can kind of come off as being intimidating. He's a man of few words. And so when I found out that I was going to be going up against him, I was like, oh shoot, man, I don't know what to think. So I kind of went and talked to him, and we planned it out. And like I said, he's a man of few words. So I was like, I don't know if he is just having a bad day, or if he hates me, or if that's just how he is. And I found out that, through the match, he was very giving, very gracious. He had a lot of great feedback. He's very, very easy to work with. But the fact that I got to work with a legend like that, man, it's something that was on my bucket list and I'll never forget. So that was definitely one of my favorite ones, especially recently. Um, Man, as far as least favorite, there's been a lot, especially early in my career. I would say, man, I think it was during my first year when I was still, just doing local stuff for a hot dog and a handshake, basically. And one of the shows that I would wrestle in was at a pole barn that basically had a dirt floor and is out in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. And it was before I didn't even belong in the ring really yet. I still was training. I wasn't polished, anything like that. And I wrestled against this guy who I don't even remember his name, but for some reason we had to go longer than we thought we did, because somebody else was late to the show, or something like that. It's wrestling, so there's always something. So for some reason they decided to turn it into a hardcore match. And this is when my wife, I think it was one of the first matches that she was able to come to. And it turns out we had this hardcore match. And what I mean by hardcore match is I just got hit with a chair a bunch of times. And he was safe. I mean, I didn't get hurt or anything, but it was an eye-opening match, because I was like, man, okay, welcome to wrestling, kid. You're just gonna take this. And I didn't get hurt, and like I said, he was safe and he was fine. But to do that in front of 15, 20 people, it felt like, in a dirty barn in the middle of Tennessee, definitely something that was more fun to look back on than say I would go and do it again this weekend. We'll put it that way.
Awesome. Awesome. Elijah Burke. You had some experiences with Elijah Burke. How was that?
Yeah, man, I love Pope, man. Nothing but good things to say about him. I actually wrestled him at the show in Jamaica that I was talking about. But yeah, I've got nothing but respect and love for Pope, man. I mean, he's helped me out so much, whether it was working with him at NWA, or he's got a charity in Jacksonville that he always has me come wrestle for, and I love doing that. It's every couple months we do that. But yeah, just to sit and pick his brain. He's very, very gracious, very kind, very giving. And that was another bucket list thing, being able to wrestle with him, because I just sit back and listen and kind of let him take the reins. And he is a pro's pro. So I actually am going to be wrestling at his show for his charity in January coming up. So really excited for that. But yeah, nothing but love for that guy.
Awesome. I was like, Nikki D.
So what is the ultimate goal as it pertains to your career? And then when do you feel like, well, I hate to ask it this way, but eventually, like, the body, and you take care of yourself, which is fantastic. But the body can only take so much. So how long do you plan on doing this? And do you have anything planned afterwards?
Yeah, well, I'm blessed enough to I have a 4-year college degree. I have a business degree, so I could always fall back on that if need be. And also with the gym, us opening the gym, that's definitely something that I can do forever. Whether it's training guys, or whatever we want to do with that. But yeah, I mean, the goal is to be WWE champion. That's been the goal since day one, and that will always be the goal until I accomplish it. So I don't give myself a timeline, because I hate to do that and have it come and go in case that happens. And I know that God's timing is different than mine anyway. So whether it's tomorrow or whether it's 10 years from now, I know I'm just going to keep following the man upstairs and tell him what he has me to do. And as long as I'm able to be healthy, thank God, and still love what I'm doing and have a passion and a purpose and a fire with it, and I'm able to go and make that connection with the fans and make a difference in people's lives, I'm going to keep doing it. I know, the body breaks down, and especially in wrestling, man, our bodies are not meant to do what we put them through. But I've been super intentional about rest and recovery and nutrition, and trying to, I guess, stop father time as much as I can. But that's always been the goal, is to just keep going until the proverbial wheels fall off, and hopefully that ain't going to happen anytime soon.
Awesome. I have a few more things before we get to CWF, because I really have a lot to talk about. I want to pick your brain in CWF. Let's talk about the fans. How important are the fans to you? The merch table, the meet and greets, and any cool interactions that you've had with fans since you've been doing the business?
Yeah, fans are why I do it. Like I said, during the pandemic, it was extremely tough because the fans they're our lifeblood. Like this, they are our livelihood. Like both, metaphorically and literally. But just to be able to, see the smiles on the kids' faces, or even when I'm a bad guy, having people boo, and that back and forth with people like that it's entertainment. It's showbiz. It's putting on a show and having people react to what you're putting out there, and they can either take it and run with it or reject it. But there's nothing like it. Like I said, I played football, I played sports growing up, I did all that stuff, but there's nothing like performing in front of a live crowd like that, in an entertainment aspect. And it's almost, I think it's the best high, quote unquote, you can get, because it's just, man, you become addicted to it because it's so fun, especially when you try new things and you can see that they click or they work, or, well, this thing worked here, that thing worked there. But the connections and the interactions and the relationships that I've made with the fans over the years, whether it's, in the ring or at the merch table or on social media, I have people always messaging me, telling me, the way that I share my faith really impacts them, or the things that my motivational post, or even my stupid, funny promos that I put out, like, that they love. It's so cool. And that interaction with the fans is second to none. So that it's the reason why I do it. So it's top for me.
Awesome. And I asked the next question, only because I had a chance to talk to Tokyo Monster Kahagas about a month ago. And we talked about brotherhood in the business of professional wrestling, paying your dues back to the business. What's that like to you, for him to be brotherhood and paying it back?
Yeah, brotherhood is, we wouldn't be able to get through it unless we had each other, because wrestling is ridiculous. The things that we have to go through, the things that we have to do and we're asked to do, and whether it's in the ring or, the travel, or getting all your meals thrown away, or, whatever it is, like it only happens in wrestling. So the bonds and the stories and all the relationships that you create with the other wrestlers, you do life together. A lot of the times you see them more than you see your actual family, so they become your family. In those miles and those shared experiences out on the road, you can't formulate, you can't make that up. You just need to go out and do it. So I've met some of my best friends through wrestling, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And friends that will be lifelong friends. As far as paying back to the business, I think that's extremely important. I always tell myself that I'm never take myself too seriously. I'm never too big. I'm never too much of a star to help set the ring up, or, help put chairs up or anything like that. I know that there are a lot of people that sometimes think that way, but I think that you'll notice, like, the top guys are usually the most humble, usually the most gracious, the most outgoing, the most helpful. And that's the reason that they got there. I truly believe that the good people in the business are the ones that last, and the ones that really enjoy the true lasting success, because I think that God honors that. And I think that for me, I want to set the example of, whether it's me at a show or on the road, but also with the school, like teaching the next generation how to act and how to conduct themselves, and how to, present themselves as a business, or how to talk to promoters, or how to go and help with the ring setup and meet new people and things like that. Because there's a lot of things that I and my generation, the generation leading up to me, we had to learn by ourselves. And that's good or bad, but a lot of the times we had to do it trial by fire. So the more that I can kind of put my arm around these guys and say, look, when this happens, maybe do this, or this is how you should conduct yourself, or things like that, it'll save them a lot of heartache, and maybe it'll save them some years that they wouldn't have to go through if they didn't have that people with that advice. So I think that it's extremely important to give back to the business that's given so much to me.
Nikki D.
Yep. And I love that you said that too, because I remember in the beginning for me, I didn't know that I would have to help set up a ring and tear down a ring. And I didn't know how to do that, but you were just expected to do it. And so you got in there and you did it. And the fact that you're going to take the youth that you're training, and they're looking at doing it, and you're saying, hey, this is what you could, potentially you're going to run into this, and you're going to run into this, and you're giving them all that advice. That's a blessing. That's a huge blessing for them, because they're going to understand. Even some of them who come in who may potentially have like a big ego, because some of them do. When they started, they think I'm going to be, they have those delusions of grandeur, where they're like, I'm going to be the #1 top star in the world. And you just kind of, hey, this is how it's going to be. Okay. For a while. Like I asked you that question about advice. The best advice that I was given was, do it because you love it. Don't do it for the money. And I needed to hear that, because in my mind, I'm going to make 6 figures in like a couple of years. And that never happened. So I love what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. And it's so funny. Wrestling's so silly, man. They expect you to just know these things when you're never taught. So the more that we can kind of cut out the middleman there, the better, for sure.
I have foster kids. I told you that in the beginning. So they came up with some questions. It's going to be real quick questions, then we'll get into CWF. So, favorite movie?
Favorite movie is The Dark Knight.
Favorite sports team?
Unfortunately, right now, this year, Michigan State Spartans.
We'll pray for you.
Thank you. We need it this year.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. But if I were to have to say one, it'd probably be Hulk Hogan.
Favorite food?
Anything fried chicken, chicken tenders, chicken wings, anything like that. I'm a sucker.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely not. It's sacrilegious.
Favorite video game?
Probably, and I'm dating myself again, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for Nintendo 64.
Wow, that's good. Last one the kid wanted to know, do you acknowledge the tribal chief?
I mean, I have to. There's no other choice, man. He's the GOAT right now. How could you not?
All right. So, CWF time, man. I'm going to play a video that I found. And then I'm going to ask the question regarding this last Saturday. So here's the video.
All right.
Bravo, bravo. Congratulations, Mr. Guardian. I hear that you just won a championship at CWF, and congratulations are in order. But also a warning is being issued. Because I'm coming this weekend. Yeah, I'll be there at CWF Eternal. And every time that I come, I want gold. And every time I have a match where there's a championship involved, I win it every single time. So, Mr. Guardian, you better guard that championship real close. Because I know a guy, or rather, a dude, who cannot wait to take it from you. So enjoy your time as champion, because this Saturday, the real champion arrives. See you soon, buddy.
Saturday, you had that match against the Guardian. I know the outcome because I have people that I talked to at CWF. What happened that night?
Well, first of all, man, that guy is arrogant, isn't he?
He is.
I don't know who he thinks he is. Well, Saturday I had the match one. I had him rolled up for 1, 2, 3, and the ref, I don't know what he saw, but he was obviously blind because he thought that I had my foot on the ropes for leverage. So he called the count off when I had him pinned for 1, 2, 3. I should be the champion right now, but unfortunately for some ref who probably should have his license revoked, that didn't end up being the case. So unfortunately, boys and girls, I'm sorry to tell you I didn't win that match, but that story ain't over, and I will definitely be back.
So should CWF be put on notice that that dude, Jamie Stanley, will be back to collect gold?
Oh, I already, I didn't leave that place that night without letting everybody know that it was a miscarriage of justice and that I wouldn't stand for it. And the next time that I'm back, they will be hell to pay.
How, if at all, did your religion prepare you for training to be a professional wrestler?
Oh man. Well, I think that it's helped me because pro wrestling, it's entertainment. And the entertainment business can be a very dark place. It's all politics, it's all subjective, and it's all vain and cosmetic and aesthetics and things like politicking, things like that. So I think that it's helped me to not get down in like the nitty gritty, in the muck and the mire, and play those games and try to politic. I try to do the best that I can with what God has given me, as far as my body and my nutrition and my health. Obviously, my wrestling, I'm still training all the time. I still work on my promos, my character, all that stuff. So I just try to control what I can control, which is the product that I put across. And I know that there's, backroom conversations and there's politicking and there's people undercutting and undermining and trying to bury each other. And I don't ever get involved in that. I try to stay above it. And it served me so well. I feel like the good Lord has definitely protected me in things that I could have gotten hurt on or burned on. And knock on wood, I've been, 10 years ago, I started training and I've come out still to this day relatively unscathed. So I'm super blessed. I feel like there's been a hedge of protection around me that wouldn't have been there unless, God was looking after me. So it's given me the perspective to just see that, wrestling or any vocation, I guess, isn't the be all end all, because there's bigger and better things out there for sure. So not taking that too seriously, not taking myself too seriously, and just having kind of an internal perspective instead of the day-to-day drama that wrestling can bring, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Nikki, do you have any questions regarding CWF?
Yeah, because you perform all over, and your faith is what you use, and you talk about the hedge of protection and everything, and we're also called to be led by the Spirit. Now, when you're with CWF, that's one thing, but if you're performing somewhere else, perhaps you're surrounded by a locker room of people, or maybe there's quite a few people who are non-believers and they're going to act a little different. Did you ever have a situation where you were possibly tested to where somebody got really upset, or you almost came to blows or something like that, or have you never had that happen at all?
Um, not because of my faith. Obviously in wrestling, there's nonsense and there's prime. You meet a lot of characters, I guess you could say. So there's a lot of craziness going on there. But I actually think that my faith and my outwardness with that faith is almost put people, it's helped people be more at ease with me, I guess. And I don't stand on the soapbox and preach with a megaphone or anything like that. I let just the way that I treat people and my love for people do the talking, I guess. And don't get me wrong, everybody knows where my heart lies and what my faith entails, but I'm not browbeating anybody with it. And I'm always working hard, and I'm kind to people, and I treat people with respect, and I'm always have a good attitude. So I think that it's actually helped endear people to me because um, they know that they can trust me, that they know that they can confide in me, and they know that I'm never going to do anything that goes against my beliefs and my values, my integrity. So I think it's kind of rubbed off on people. You know, they're, I guess for lack of a better term, they're on their best behavior around me. Not because I do anything besides just try to be myself, but I think that it's almost like my faith brings everybody to a higher standard in a locker room just because um, it's excellence. I mean, that's what God calls us to do. He calls us to do our best and love each other and be kind and do everything the right way. So I think people see that in me and it kind of rubs off on them. And whether they know it or not, they kind of aspire to do the same thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm glad you shared that because that answered the question I have written down. I know I've read some stuff on you. You mentioned Matthew 14. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. That
Mhm.
what you just talked about resembles what that verse says to me, anyways. You are this person that people look at as a superhero or whatever, and for you to be as positive as a person as you can be in the business, that that shows people something, and that means a lot to me, anyways. Knowing you as a man of God and as a professional wrestler, that means a lot to me. So now I understand why in some of your stuff you mentioned Matthew 5:14, yeah, Matthew 5:14. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just like I said, it's a dark industry, and anything that we can do to try to lighten it up, man, it needs it. And you know, whether it's the fans or the wrestlers, a lot of them are searching, whether they know what they're searching for or not. But I think that's another reason that they gravitate towards that as well. It's because everybody's looking for something, and this is obviously, as we know, it's the only real substance that is true. So it's I think that's why it's gotten a good rap as well.
right. And I'm just glad to share this with you. I don't know if I'm out of line. Tell me, please. But you and I share a similar thing. You lost your grandmother on the same day I lost my mom. And I don't know
Mhm.
how where you're at with your struggles or grieving with this, but the verses I laid on was Psalms 30, 11, and 12. You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord, oh my God, I will praise you forever. I read that on the day my mom passed away, and I remember when my pastor that I studied under, his wife passed away, and he would talk about singing joy, praising God in that darkest moment. And I don't know if that means anything to you, but to me, dealing with about the loss of my mom, it was cool because at the funeral, I heard all these stories about my cousin that with the interaction with my cousins and my mom, my uncles and my mom, and it made the day so fun because they were bringing up joy. And I just like how God brings people together, like you, Mickey D, and myself, to just talk what we thought would be wrestling, but to share our hearts like that. And I just wanted to share that with you, Jamie, that we can turn this mourning into joy if we by remembering all these awesome things that our grandmother or our mom or whoever passes. If we can remember those things, that makes it a little easier. Not it's not easy because I cry on a daily basis. I ain't gonna lie, but that verse helps me. So I don't know if that would help you, but I thought I should share that with you. That's just what I've been in my heart for the last 5 minutes. So I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. That means a lot. And uh, I will say that losing a mother is probably a lot more than losing a grandmother. Obviously, she was a big part of my life, but I still have my mother, so I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, it's iron sharpens iron, man. Like we're meant to do this together. We're not meant to do it alone. And it's just funny how you said you read that on that day. It's funny how like God gives you exactly what you need, like when you need it. I find that out all the time. So just yeah, man, so much comfort in his word. And although it doesn't make it easier, right, I think it makes us stronger to be able to endure these types of things.
Absolutely. Nikki D.
And I was gonna add to we have that hope also of being reunited with them again. So
Mhm.
certainly if they have their salvation through Christ, as we do, then it's tough, when you lose somebody here, but then you also know, hey, this isn't the end, because we'll be rejoicing together in the presence of the Lord. And that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how my grandma was too. She was saved. She was ready to go at that point. She said, she wanted to just go up and be with Jesus and be with my grandpa, who had already passed about 2 years earlier. So that made the whole process easier. So we do have that hope that it's not just this world that we have to worry about. It's the eternal perspective. So yeah, man, thank you for sharing that.
So the locker room in CWF compared to the locker room in NWA, you've already said the NWA locker room is pretty chill and you guys are supportive. Is that the same thing as that you experience in the CWF locker room?
Yeah, CWF is great, man. Obviously, it's got Christian in the name, so it's very Christ centered. And it's super cool because we come together and before the show we fellowship and we pray and we listen to some worship music, and we do the same thing after. So you can tell, there's a lot of companies and there's a lot of things out there that just slap the word Christian on there that don't really, I guess, walk the walk. They just talk the talk. But Rob is great. Him and Beth have been so hospitable, and they definitely they have integrity. They walk the walk. They live the way that they speak. So you can tell that the atmosphere and the culture that they made, like people have bought into it, and it's great because everybody's authentic and everybody is vulnerable and sharing with each other and just fellowshipping with each other, and the atmosphere there and the culture there is what I try to emulate at our school. And so it's funny how we God had us meet at the right time because I'm able to pick his brain and take advice from him and ask him questions about things that I probably wouldn't have even thought about before seeing it in action. So he's been extremely helpful with help shaping me as a man, as a mentor to me, but also with the school and how I want our culture to be as well. So extremely grateful and love it every time I go there. They're super welcoming, all the people in the locker room. It's a family, it's a brotherhood. You feel at home, and they just make it so easy. So I love it there.
So do you ever see a invasion angle from your school going to Rockwall and taking over that belt that you want with the help of like a NWO takeover?
Well, I mean, we've done that with promotions around Florida, and we've got 27 guys that are ready to go throw down. So I mean, never say never.
There you go. So are you a fan of these guys?
I am the way, the truth, the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me.
Bible Club. Eternal life.
He's the way.
So you're fans of the Bible Club?
The Bible Club, they were there. They work hard. They put on a good show. Yeah, man. They've got a catchy entrance music. I think that they come to me to get my autograph more often than not. But they're pretty good.
Oh, okay. I think Fitz isn't in the room, so that's easy to say, right?
Which, if Fitz was in the room, you wouldn't be able to see me because that dude is giant. But he actually, man, I don't know if you guys have seen him lately, but he's lost so much weight and he looks great. I was talking to him the other day. It's crazy. I was talking to him and just, man, it's like every time I come, it's like I was like, where's the rest of you? So he's been putting in the work, man. He looks great.
He does. I see his videos all the time on TikTok, on Facebook. He looks. I mean, I interviewed him about 2 months ago. He looks so much different now than when I interviewed him.
Every time, yeah.
What the heck, dude? Ain't gonna mess with him. So
no, he's doing great.
What's your okay, so I listened to an interview of yours and you talked about burn the ship, following the dreams, and burning the ship. I was intrigued by that. So can you talk to us about what that means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a lot of people, whether it's I think it was Hernando Cortez, the conquistador, whenever he would go to a new place and he would have his army with him, as soon as they landed on the island, they would burn their ship, so there was no escape. So they had to go forward and they had to fight and they had to put their best foot forward. And I just, man, that really resonated with me. I mean, we moved down to Florida in the middle of the pandemic, left all of our family back in Tennessee, left our jobs in Tennessee, didn't know anybody down here, and it was to chase this crazy dream. Looking back is one of the greatest things that we've ever done, but at the time it was scary. So that's one of the things. Obviously, opening up this wrestling school is another huge leap of faith. And you know, when there's no real plan B, it makes you go all in on plan A. So I think that as far as burning the ships or burning the boats, that's the only way to do it. Because if you have kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you're not going to go at it 100%. So actually in our living room, we have a huge mural of ships burning, and people are coming in. They're like, what's that about? Like, you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't understand. So it's just a constant reminder of like, we did it once, we've done it twice, and it's great. But like, God calls us to take up our cross daily and do these things and walk with him and take, you know, step out of the boat onto the water, whatever you want to say. So I think that, man, it's the only way to live. And it doesn't get any easier, but you kind of get stronger and you kind of look back at God's faithfulness and say, man, well, he's been with us before. So here we go. I hope that he's with us again. And I'd rather step out of the boat and sink for a little bit than, you know, be on my deathbed and say, man, I wish I would have done that. I didn't even try to do that. You know what I mean? So to try and to fail is better to not try at all. And that's burning the ships for me. It's a family motto.
Okay. Nikki D.
You know, in fitness and strength training, I personally I don't count numbers. I like to go to failure because if you have that number mentally, you could give up, or that's going to be like, you know, where you might inadvertently stop when you get there. And I love that you said that earlier. You don't have an end age. You don't have a time that you plan on stopping, because in your mind you're going. And now that makes even more sense to me that you mentioned burning the ships. You know, there is no plan B. There's plan A. You know, this is it, and this is what you're doing. So I just thought back on when you said that earlier, because that makes complete sense as to you, the way that you're driven and why you're driven, and why you do the things that you do. So I thought that was pretty cool. That just popped in my head.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's you have to be relentless in attacking your goals, and whether subconsciously, like you said, if there's a plan B, you know, obviously we're called to be, you know, responsible and hedge our bets a little bit, and you know, it's not like I sold everything and I went and bought a wrestling ring, you know what I mean? But we've made some crazy from the outside, some crazy illogical moves to continue to chase this dream, and I think that not number one, that makes the best stories, but number two, like, you're not going to get what you want without a little bit of discomfort, without a little bit of pain, without a little bit of stepping outside your comfort zone and stepping outside the box. So, you know, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I would say so. If you do everything with like relentless intensity and you're resilient and you don't let things, you know, you don't take no for an answer. As long as, you know, you feel like God is calling you to it, I think that it's definitely gotten me to where I am at this point, and I'm not done yet. So I'm going to keep going until I get a hard stop one way or another. So yeah, I think that's definitely how I try to live my life. Definitely.
I have two more things. I hope I'll be quick about it. I know, you know, I watched your Facebook page, and this was interesting to me. You posted up there 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. In our own power, we are weak, susceptible, and temptation, and limited in discipline. And then it goes on top of the Holy Spirit. But you paid huge tribute to your grandmother.
Mhm.
And that is honorable to be sitting in front of a guy that did that. I mean, you went on and said a tad late in posting this, but wanted to take some time and honor the lady who was instrumental in shaping the man I am today. So I'm gonna go with that and talk about was she instrumental in and you becoming a Christian and your testimony. I'd like to end the interview kind of like with that topic. Your testimony as compared to your grandmother, because it seems to me that reading about on your Facebook page, talking about your grandmother and how amazing she was in your life. So if you could share with us fans about that.
Yeah, I mean, she was like my second mom, basically. She would, babysit me every day when I was a kid, when I was super young, and she always had joy. Whenever we'd go over there, her and my grandpa, they would just always have fun and be joking around and being goofy. And I still remember them like dancing. Like they did line dancing, and they did, country western dancing, and you could just tell like that was the model. Like they were best friends, and they were in love until the day that they passed. And that's something and they had fun with each other. Like they always were goofy and made each other laugh. And I feel like that's a lot of times when people get married, they just become roommates, especially when they have kids. It's like they lose the husband and the wife aspect, and they're just parents now. So, I mean, I have a 5-year-old and I have a 2-year-old, and it's tough sometimes for me to not fall into that rut with my wife. So I definitely look at them as the pattern for just, true happiness and friendship and love and just partnership and teamwork, I guess you could say. They were always on each other's side, and they did everything together. And my wife and I are kind of the same way. Like, we run a business together, so we see each other darn near 24 hours a day. And we love it. Like, we hang out on the weekends, we do date nights. Like, we hang. I don't go and hang out with my guy friends, and she doesn't do that with her girlfriends. We do everything together. And it's weird. I mean, that's not normal. It's not natural. So I definitely picked that up from my grandpa and grandma, and just the fact that they obviously were believers. That was a huge impact on my life as well, especially as I grew older and kind of, my walk with the Lord became stronger and stronger, and we could finally, kind of talk more at an intelligent level about those things. So they were the model. They were my role models for how to treat each other, how to always just be joyful and happy and enthusiastic, and just be kind to people, and kind of be high on life, I guess you could say. So learned a lot from them, and I couldn't imagine where I'd be without having them in my lives.
Awesome. So thank you for your opportunity, and thank you for the hour and almost a half that you spent with us. Is there anything you could just closing with tell the fans where you're going to be, how they can see you, and then I'll play an exit song, but don't go anywhere. Don't get off the thing. I'll beat you back in the lobby. So that dude, it's your time.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much. I appreciate letting me come on and talk about wrestling, but more importantly, talk about my faith. It's a huge thing for me, obviously. So appreciate you guys, appreciate all the fans that got to listen. Social media is at the Jamie Stanley, or facebook.com/the Jamie Stanley. You can check out my school if you're ever in the area. Feel free to stop by. Like I said, we're in Orlando, but on social media, on Instagram, it's the HOC_pro, the HOC, which stands for House of Champions _pro. We're on Facebook as well. And for any aspiring wrestlers who want to come out and try, you get your first class for free. You can come out and try us out and see what you see if you cut out for it or not. See how much you like it. But Jamie Stanley ain't done. He might pop up on TV here or there. So feel free to please follow and interact. I'm very open and honest with my fans, with interacting with them. So I love to hear the encouragement. I love to hear from you guys, and I will definitely write back to you. So blessings to you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we're just getting started, baby.
Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Thank you, Jamie Stanley. Thank you, Nikki D, for coming on board. Thank you, Huge Pop Wrestling fans. Love you guys, and we are back. And we took a couple weeks off, but we're back and we're ready to go. So thank you guys. Stay in the lobby.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house. Who is
is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army, they got the tanks and everything. He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled, cause when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle. 6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull. Who is in the house?